Hello everybody. I hope this isn't popping up in every video. I swear, I'm wearing different shirts. That's all I seem to be wearing this one. But welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Narrated by Disney, or current Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it. Legends. Today I review the conclusion to the Darkness Trilogy, Book 3, Swarm War. I don't have too much to talk about this one. It's the conclusion to a pretty, I think, underrated trilogy. I don't really hear too many people talk about it. It certainly isn't my favorite thing about Star Wars or my favorite story in it, but it certainly was interesting, and there are parts I love, parts I found a little boring, but that's par for the course for a lot of these. There's only certain books where, like, I'm thrilled throughout the entire thing, so those are the special ones, like Darth Plagueis, which you would think would be boring, but it really wasn't. And then Darth Bane, the entire trilogy was fantastic. And then the Thrawn trilogy is pretty good. I think Dark Forces Rising had some really slow bits, though. Last Command was a bit better, so. But overall, this was a good trilogy, and it sets up things that will be important for the next big arc we get to, which will be Legacy of the Force. Where everything goes wrong, sadly. But we're not there yet. So, basically, the war has officially, started. The Swarm War. Jaina and Zek are with the Killiks, and Jason and Mara and Luke do a bunch of missions in this book up until the end, where it's Luke on his own. I'll get to that in spoilers. Han and Leia are on their own mission, and we get to Jaina is just helping the Killiks this entire time up until the very end because of everything going on. Han and Leia are trying to do their part to stop this. And then, Luke, Mara, and Jason, they end up needing to watch the rest of R2's memory files, so that way Luke can be prepared to defeat Raynar Thol, or Unithal, and Lomi Plow. And that, and of course, peace reigns, because it's Star Wars. And the book ends a bit abruptly, I think, but still good. It's hard to talk about this one, I feel, because it's, in a lot of ways, kind of felt like, The Hobbit, where it was only needed to be, like, 2 movies, but they made it into 3 because money. And the Battle of the 5 Armies was a lot of fighting and stuff. Now, there's plenty of talking stuff in this, too, but I don't know. There's a lot of action here, and action's never been one of my favorite parts, which is weird, because Star Wars, you think, like, action, space, spectacle. But that's not really what I come to novels for in general. Like, I'm here for the dialogue and conversations and stuff, so that was my least favorite part. But it was an exciting conclusion, and I'm excited to see the next story arc, which is kind of set up here, though of course there's a lot more that will happen in the next series. But yeah, overall I think it was really good, and I think you should go check it out, especially if you read the other 2, then why wouldn't you read the final one in the trilogy? And I think this should be read after, well, obviously after New Jedi Order, because it takes place after New Jedi Order, and I definitely think you shouldn't skip it. I think you should read it before Legacy of the Force. I haven't read Legacy of the Force, but I just think that there's a lot of important things that are set up here that I think will make the next book less jarring. But yeah, that's pretty much it for non-spoiler, I guess. If that sounds interesting, I guess, then you should go check it out. But other than that, I'm going to get into spoilers now. So if you don't want spoilers because you haven't read it yet, it's time for you to skedaddle. as I said, the war with them has officially started. One thing that's kind of upsetting is that Jaina and Jason's relationship is kind of straining in this series. And I don't know if that will continue. I mean, I know at a certain point it will continue in the next series, but I don't know if they're going to start off kind of combative. Because whatever happened to Jason during that 5-year sojourn he went on after the events of the New Jedi Order series, he's different. Though, again, I think at the time that everything was going on with the New Jedi Order, all he had to focus on was defeating the Vong. And he didn't have to focus on anything else. He had a goal in mind. But again, he suffered a lot. That book, Traitor, is brilliant. That is the only book, I think, in all of existence, even more than Darth Plagueis, that just kept me hooked through the entire read. So hooked, in fact, that I finished it in, like, a day. It was a super good read. But he's not the same anymore. And he's willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that his vision doesn't come to pass. And he's perfectly willing to lie to his family. Now he thinks he's doing it for good reasons. And this will get more interesting as we see him look at the past with Anakin Skywalker. We'll get into that later, but you know, obviously, and Jaina's, you know, for the Killicks right now because she's, you know, one of the joiners. And you know, Jason's, you know, manipulating everyone, which is, he's so smart and he's so powerful. And I'm not looking forward to the upcoming books where he will droop down even further. Because as of right now, he's still technically a good guy. But so is Anakin during the entire Clone Wars. And look what happened to him. But it's just really sad that the relationship is straining. Because if you remember, I did the reviews for the Young Jedi Knights series. They were the best of friends in Young Jedi Knights. I loved them. They were like just best friend, brother and sister, duo. And even still, with everything going on in New Jedi Order, they still had each other's backs. And now it's straining. It was just sad. And it's only going to get worse. Luke has a speech at the very beginning of the book talking about how he's going to take control of the Jedi Order. Like, he's always been de facto leader. He's the Grand Master Skywalker. But he's... The Jedi are too busy arguing all the time about what they need to do. And so he's like, yo, if your first priority is not to the Jedi Order, then I'm going to take control. And it was sort of a way to try to get people to, you know, calm down and everything. But the entire speech was really good. And he made some good points in it as well. But I love Luke. He's, next to Yoda, I think he's the greatest, like, because that's what he is. He's the Yoda of this post-Return of the Jedi story. Yoda was, like, the top-tier Jedi that, like, everybody loved, right? And he taught, like, everyone. And Yoda knew every Jedi, at least on some level. You know, knew them by name. I think there was not one person that he didn't know by name. Because he would raise the younglings, or he would teach the younglings before they became teenagers and got masters. So, in a similar sense, that's what Luke is to all the Jedi now. And so, Dani Queen, we got introduced to in the New Jedi Order series, she goes to stay with Zamana Zakat. She realizes that she's more about the science and wanting to hang out with the planet than being with the Jedi Order. And Tino Ka, of course, she gives up the Order because she's a mother now. And because the child, I mean, she doesn't tell anybody else this, but because the child is Jason's, it's illegitimate. Because it's not a royal blood. And so she wants to make sure she can protect him. And she is the queen of an entire cluster of space. Or something like that. So, she knows that she has responsibilities. And that while she would like to be a Jedi, she simply can't stick with it at the moment. So. Reynar's mom gives Luke the OG prototype R2. The very first R2 ever. Gives to him. So he can use parts from that to give R2 that we know and love to help with the memory stuff. Jason, Mara, and Luke see prequel scene after the Jedi Purge at the temple, where Anakin comes back from after having slaughtered children. And Jason sees no issue with Anakin's behavior. Because if you remember at this point, I mean, if you've watched episode 3, Anakin gets kind of possessive. Right? Well, not possessive, not necessarily a bad thing. He is the husband. But it becomes kind of demanding, kind of forceful, kind of threatening without actually threatening. He's like, you will be fine because I have you. Nothing will hurt you because you are mine. And, I don't know. It's... Anakin Skywalker had good intentions. He just wanted to protect his wife because he did not want what happened to his mother to happen to him, or to happen to her. But he let the devil inside, and the devil took control. And wouldn't relinquish until his son saved him. You know, good, like, 20 years later. But, or 16, or whatever it was. It's crazy, because Jason doesn't see the problem with it. He's like, yeah, he wants to protect his wife. Who wouldn't? What's the issue with that? Because what Jason's thinking is, it's all about, because this is what he learned from Verge. There is no light or dark. It's how you act. It's how you choose to be. He hasn't seen the rest of the footage, but as of right now, he just thinks he's trying to protect her. So why not use the dark side? The intention, the goal is good. So it's fine. The darkness isn't selfish inherently. He isn't doing this out of anger or spite. He's doing it to protect someone he loves. Therefore, it's acceptable. And we'll see more of that later as he gets puzzled as to how something went wrong with Anakin. Killick's freaking take control of the Bacta for a bit, which was insane. Because that's something that happens in a lot of the novels. It started, I think, with, I mean, it might have happened in the prequel novels, but, like, with the X-Wing Rogue Squadron series, that was the thing that the Emperor tried to do, was, you know, poison the freaking Bacta. Because it's such an important commodity in the Star Wars universe. Jason goes on to talk about the next generation. He looks at his father and his mother. You know, thinks about how they've been heroes for 35 years. Or something like that. Now it's time for them to pass on the torch to the next set of heroes. But would Jason or Jaina or any of them, will they ever be able to compare to their parents who came before? That's something that goes on in Jason's mind. Though, of course, no doubts. Verge scorched them out. He has no doubts about what needs to be done, like Luke. He knows that Raynar Thol must be dead. Lummi Plow must be dead. And that is the only way to end the conflict. Only a Sith deals in absolutes. No doubt. No fear. I can do it all. Of course, I've always found that quote annoying. The only a Sith deals in absolutes, because that statement is itself absolute. It's no Sith deals in absolute. Absolutely. Only Sith. See, it's just a big old contradiction. It's a really cool line that he says, but if you really analyze it, Obi-Wan's comment is really freaking stupid. But anyway. And then episode 3, Mustafar scene. Jacen appreciates Anakin's attempt. So this is the famous scene where, you know, Anakin starts to choke Padme. And Jacen doesn't understand why. He choked the woman he loved. The whole reason he did all this was for the woman he loved. So how could he do that to her? Because he thought everything else up to that point was acceptable. Because he was doing it to protect the woman he loved. But he couldn't understand how that had went wrong. How did he let his anger overcome him and take control? Because I think, you know, Jacen thinks that he's above that. He thinks he can use whatever is necessary and still stay good, because his understanding comes from Verge, from the book Traitor. Which, again, people are like, oh, it doesn't work. It's a contradiction to that book. I don't know. I have to still read the next series to find out if that's true. But as of right now, it makes perfect sense in line with what we've already learned from the Traitor novel. Book 13 in the New Jedi Order series. Verge told him that there is no light or dark, only how you act. So as long as Jacen believes that his actions, that his intentions are good, he can use whatever the hell he wants. That's what he believes. It is completely consistent with what we already know that he learned from Verge and the embrace of pain. Again, he may seem pretty well put together, but he was tortured for like 1.5 years. You don't come out of that the same. You just don't. So, I'm excited to see. I mean, it's going to be sad. Because, again, I'm probably going to say this again when we get to the Legacy of the Force, but it's strange if you've actually been reading everything in chronological order. I saw these kids get born. I saw Jacen and Jaina get born. It happened in the Thrawn trilogy. They were born in that novel. So I've seen their whole life. In chronological, I mean, of course, some parts are boring, so you just skip over it. But I've seen every major event in their life. And to know that it does not end happy for at least 2 out of the 3. And even still, how happy can you be when so many bad things happen for Jaina and Jacen and everything? It sucks. But again, we're not there yet. We'll get to that next time. But it's definitely interesting progression that is going on with Jacen. And Jacen's parts are usually some of the best of this entire trilogy. And of course, it's great to see another prequel scene. I love that. And I love that next up, Padme's death. We finally get to see Padme give birth to Luke and Leia, which we saw in episode 3, of course. And we got to see, you know, Luke finally see his mother and see how she died. You know, it's just such closure for his character. It's been like 35 years. He has no idea what his mother looked like or anything like that. And now he finally understands at least some of the past. Though I wish he'd be able to see more of the nuance and stuff that went on with Anakin. You know, everything that went up to that and stuff. But I hate that Jaina and Jag are enemies in this series. I like them together, and I'm really sad that they're apart and now that they're conflicting. Though I think in the long run they ultimately work out because of the Fell Empire and the Legacy comics, which we won't get to for still a while, but I hope they mend quickly. Jaina needs something, considering what's about to happen. Alema, Rar, and Leia's rematch was pretty freaking epic. Leia kicked some butt, which is really cool to finally see her be like a Jedi and do all this cool stuff. And she got to beat up Alema. Is she dead? Don't know. We'll find out probably in the next series if she's alive or not. And I only have one more note. Luke's awesome final battle. This is why Luke freaking Skywalker is the Grand Master of the Jedi Order. He slices Lomi Plow into bits into like 4 parts and doesn't kill Raynarthal. He convinces Raynarthal that it's time to come home, and that you need to leave the Killiks alone. Love that, because it's just like, I mean, Lomi Plow is basically a monster. So it was like a wild animal. So it's just time to put that thing out of misery. As for Raynar, he's able to convince him, because he's not too far gone, to bring him home. And so he did. And once again, although I imagine the relationship with the Chiss is a little bit strained now, but there was peace in the galaxy yet again. How long that lasts? Probably not long. And this time, it'll be super personal. Because this time, the enemy will be someone close, someone we know. And, well, it's Jason. If you didn't know that, well, I'm sorry. I mean, that's one of the first things I learned when I started getting into the EU, and I haven't even read anything yet. Jason's fall is up next. Jason, who we've been following for a long time. One of my favorite characters because of the book Traitor. Before that, he was an annoying little butt, but now I love him. And his fall starts next time. So I hope you join me for that. And as I said, you know, happy endings, but it's not happy. Because there's more to come. More depression to be had. Family and friends to lose. And so, we will experience that all in the 9-book series, Legacy of the Force, next time. And I hope to see you then. But until then, have a good day, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.